In one of Germany's biggest rocker trials, the Berlin District Court has sentenced 8 of the 10 defendants to life imprisonment. 7 of them were found guilty of joint murder on Tuesday. A 35-year-old, who is regarded as the head of the Hells Angels rockers, was convicted of incitement to murder.
This man broke the code of honor of the rocker gang, spoke to the prosecution, and ratted out his brothers. Today, he has written a book about his experience as a Hells Angels member and has appeared on several TV shows preaching about second chances.
I was in organized crime for years. Bullying, racism, and other difficult experiences led to this. After I was involved in the betting shop murder, I came forward as a key witness and spent 6.5 years in solitary confinement. Now, I live in the witness protection program and lead a middle-class life. Everyone deserves a second chance, and we should work to ensure that as few young people as possible end up on the wrong track.
For years, Kasra Zargaran belonged to the most violent Hells Angels group in Germany, the Hells Angels MC Berlin City. He dined with them, fought side by side, and they were his brothers. However, this once powerful Hells Angels Berlin chapter does not exist today. All thanks to Zargaran, who cut a deal with the prosecution and testified against his brothers. Through his testimony as a key witness, he sent 8 members to prison for life, including the notorious leader, President Kadir Padir. The implication of this daring move is that Zargaran would have to watch his back for the rest of his life. In return for ratting out his brothers, Zargaran was given a lesser sentence. Throughout his 7-year sentence, he was put in solitary confinement. Your guess is as good as mine. Inmates don't like snitches. Moreover, the Hells Angels gang is well connected and has members in several prisons, so they could get to him. Today, Zargaran is under witness protection. In Germany, he uses his real name because the Hells Angels know about his statement and at the latest, according to his book, also the public. But he lives abroad and under a false name. The question is, how has Zargaran managed to survive so far? And did he leave the Angels for the right reasons? Zargaran was born in Harburg in 1986. His father was Iranian, while his mother was a German-Chilean. He grew up in Norderstedt near Hamburg. Zargaran's father was an optician, while his mother was an educator. However, Zargaran had another path he wanted to pursue. For this reason, he dropped out of school. At a young age, Zargaran was also exposed to red light districts since he was out of school. He soon became a bouncer at a brothel on the Reeperbahn and finally became a rocker. But Zargaran wanted more. He was not comfortable with the Hamburg chapters of the Hells Angels. According to Zargaran, it was full of unmotivated pimps. So he moved to Berlin, to Kadir Padir, the notorious Hells Angels leader known for being ruthless. The Berlin City Charter existed because Kadir Padir, the president, and his followers switched from the rival rocker group Bandidos to the Hells Angels in 2010. The reason for this was that Padir's Bandidos group had seriously harmed the Hells Angels for months and had seriously injured several members. So the Hells Angels offered their worst enemies to switch sides. From there on, Padir had over 90 men under him. That same year, Zargaran joined the Hells Angels chapter in Berlin City. This gave him resources and more drive to do what he does best: commit crimes.
How do you actually become a member of the Hells Angels?
For me, it was all pretty complicated. I started in Kiel as a member of a support group, which was established by the Hells Angels. There I just put myself through as a good, strong man. I was one who was loyal, who stood up for his man.
What does that mean?
Well, I didn't turn around in a conflict. I didn't pull my tail in, as they say. But I always faced the situation. I was able to sit through it. And that went on for years until I got the full membership at some point.
Zargaran was a loyal Hells Angels member and was at the MC for over 10 years. During these times, Zargaran hated journalists. He often attacked them on the street, kicked them, and insulted them. But some years later, he cooperated with journalists and sat down for several interviews where he talked about his years with the Hells Angels. He also revealed to the public some secret rules and rituals members must follow, lies the rockers use to deceive the public, and some violent acts they commit.
What were the rules in your charter?
The basic rules are not to cooperate with the police. No one is burdened with any investigation procedures. You don't go to the woman. You are 100% loyal to the club. You get involved with body and life, even go to prison for life or kill. To deal with state power, also physically, that means physical confrontation with policemen, to deal with other groups. So, violence readiness must be 100% there. Just be a man from their perspective.
There are no women?
No, there are women, but that's all relationship-wise. They have nothing in the club, no status, no relevance. If you are a Hell Angel, it actually lasts a lifetime. That means wearing a jacket in everyday life and always riding a motorcycle. Public transport is forbidden. Above all, getting out is taboo. Only exception, whoever breaks the rules flies out, has to hand over his jacket and loses his club tattoos, sometimes with violence.
A deadly dispute over this supposed honor between Hell's Angels and a rival group leads to his decision to turn his back on this life. Kasra Zargaran continued to roll with the Hells Angels Berlin charter. However, an incident that broke the camel's back forced Zargaran to rethink his life choices. He decided it was time to stop committing crimes and live a peaceful life. The incident was known to the public as the Berlin betting office murder. In February 2014, 13 Hells Angels members, including Zargaran, stormed a betting cafe in Reinickendorf. The man who led the group fired a pistol in the back room without warning the 26-year-old victim. After receiving 6 bullets, the victim, 26-year-old Tahir Özbek, eventually succumbs to his pain and dies in the cafe. The shooter and his companions fled the scene. That night, Özbek was in the back room of the betting cafe, relaxed. The strong young Turk has arranged to meet a few friends. They want to chat and maybe play cards. He left his protective vest, which he usually wears when he goes out, at home that evening. But he has the 7.65mm Zastava pistol with him, since he heard that the Hells Angels were trying to kill him. However, the attack was so unexpected and quick. Before he could draw his weapon, the attacker had fired 8 shots, 6 of which hit Özbek's upper body. The hit was ordered by President Padir at the time. According to reports, Özbek, who also happened to be a serious criminal, had earlier mocked the Hells Angels weeks before and openly questioned their power. The incident happened in mid-October 2013, when Tahir Özbek and a few of his friends fought with bouncers and Hells Angels members in front of a nightclub. It got so messy that both parties brought out knives and batons. At the end of the scuffle, a Hells Angels member was seriously injured and had to be rushed to a hospital. As we all know, biker gangs hate it when they are challenged in public. The Berlin betting office murder was their response to the victim's challenge.
You quit after you and a few other members killed a person together.
We went to a betting office together on the premise that there would be a conflict with a person, to sort things out, whether physically or verbally. Unfortunately, this resulted in the killing, not from my end, but from a member of the group.
While Zargaran thought they were visiting the betting shop to threaten or at most beat up a rival who had disrespected the group, Padir had other plans.
We went over here, I think we were at the 7th or 8th spot, and then he shot directly at the young man. I think the whole magazine, 8 bullets, of which 6 were all fatal.
Were you shocked?
Yes, I was shocked. I already assumed that it would bang. In the sense of bang, you deal with it physically, but I did not expect that a group of people would be shot. I would not have expected that.
Immediately after the crime, the rockers drove to Burger King in Prenzlauer Berg, where Padir ate one burger after the other. On the other hand, other members of the crew had no appetite. After the trip to the burger joint, Padir gathered his people around him and assured them that if they ever got arrested, his lawyer would take care of them. Not long after the murder, the authorities released the CCTV footage that captured the incident. From the footage, they were able to identify some members of the Hells Angels Berlin chapter. The police in Berlin watched Padir's club round the clock before they swapped in to arrest them. However, it is one thing to arrest suspects, it's another to find them guilty. The police only had a little to prove what went down that day. It was at this junction that they experienced a big breakthrough.
You broke the most important rule of the Hells Angels with that, namely, to work with the police.
I wasn't even aware of what was developing out of it, because it was a situation I didn't know about. I am not a mass murderer or someone who is involved in murder every day. And it was clear to me when I saw the arrest warrant and the files that everyone knew about it. But I didn't know. Like several others, I didn't know either. It was important to me to make that clear.
Zargaran didn't know they were going to shoot someone that night. A surveillance video of the crime scene supports his statement. After many of the gang members were in custody, Zargaran began to doubt whether the lawyer who had been assigned to him was acting according to his wishes or to the wishes of the club. For example, the lawyer never once asked him what happened. Zargaran suspected that he and his brothers would be behind bars for many years, while Padir would be fine. When offered a deal to rat, he didn't think twice.
Why is honor so important in this world, in the ceremonial world?
That's not really honor. Maybe we can call it ego. I don't care if he insulted me. At the end of the day, you can't forget one thing. This is a criminal world, and every weakness is exploited as a disadvantage. That means you have to be strong all the time, not to look vulnerable, so that you don't get attacked or belittled.
Zargaran identified the remaining members of the Hells Angels group who carried out the murder. His statement and cooperation with the prosecution played a significant role in the ban of the Berlin Hells Angels chapter. The trial went on for over 5 years against the 10 defendants, with Zargaran acting as a key witness. In October 2019, the court convicted 8 rockers of murdering a rival and sentenced them to life imprisonment. President Padir was found guilty of ordering the hit on Tahir Özbek and was sentenced to life behind bars. The remaining accomplices had fled to Turkey. Zargaran as well was convicted but got a lesser sentence, 12 years behind bars. In November 2021, Zargaran was released from jail after spending 6 years and 7 months in prison.
Do you regret that you were at the betting shop that day?
It is a good question, a difficult question, and a complex question. Everyone would now expect me to say yes, I do as well. But it's always the question of who wouldn't have happened at the time. God have mercy on his soul, I have to say. The poor boy at the time, he was in his early 20s. It shouldn't have happened. But if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have quit, for example. I wouldn't have gone that way.
You couldn't have smashed the charter.
Of course, never at the expense of the boys. That shouldn't be misunderstood now. Sure, I regret it, definitely. But it's part of my story. And today I'm the one who's through with the whole thing.
While some people see Zargaran's story as the purification of a man who remained true to himself and took a chance at redeeming his life, others see him as a snitch who ratted out his brothers. He now lives abroad under witness protection under a false name. Even though Zargaran is now free, he will have to watch his shoulders for the rest of his life.